A roster of failures for Richard and by association, Phil Hudok. November 14, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. Failure number 1, your failure to recognize and report the fact that our national credit has been embezzled, siphoned off by foreign powers, invested in slush funds, the stock market, and private placement trading platforms, deliberately stolen and hidden and withheld from the people it is owed to. As a senior consultant accounting expert for Department of Administration, it was your job to notice the elephant in the living room and do something about it, not mine. I am just a simple country bumpkin fiduciary and I noticed. Why didn't you? Even though you took your paycheck from our pockets, you were working for the middlemen, and the middlemen were chiseling off all the profit and benefit for themselves. Weren't they, Richard? I could put you under oath and find out pretty quick, but I already know the answer to the question. Failure number 2, even after I told you about the missing American national credit, you still did nothing about it, beyond trying to figure a way to get some of it for yourself. Howbeit, the end result you've worked out comes at the expense of racking up more public debt instead of accessing the national credit. You still want the big con to continue and for living people to pay for the dead. That's why you approve of generation-skipping trusts that lock down our assets and the credit owed to us, all in the name of avoiding income taxes that normal Americans don't owe in the first place. Failure number 3, as an expert government accountant, you know that the private relief you are touting is being paid for at the cost of more public debt, but you are trying to avoid that fact, and trying to convince people to take the bait, pretending that it does no harm for them to do so. But it does harm them directly, because they ultimately have to pay for this relief with taxes and other public debt measures used to recoup it. On top of that, they have to repay it with interest. So it is literally no advantage to them, and it is in fact an additional burden on them, their children, their neighbors, and their country. You know that, Richard. You have to know that as a government accounting consultant. Failure number 4, you and your buddies are trying to convince people that they are natural persons and encouraging them to accept that legal status in equitable exchange for putting themselves deeper in debt, but as any legal dictionary makes clear, people and natural persons are two different things. And it is not a good thing to be labeled a natural person because it implies that you are an incompetent, and that in turn allows members of the bar to administer your estate with impunity. They may guarantee your immunity, which, by the way, we are guaranteed anyway, once we claim our correct political status, but they keep control of our money and assets, and thanks to you, they have permission to do so. Thanks to you, we have all these people on record agreeing that they are natural persons, and that's the name of the real game, suckering people into foreign political statuses where their assets and credit can be commandeered. Failure number 5, but you and your buddies didn't stop with 1, getting the suckers to pay themselves with public debt that they then owe back with interest, and 2, hand over control of their credit and assets to foreign powers and voluntarily and officially subject themselves to the mercies of the Bar Association members, but 3, you also had to bamboozle people into accepting another title placed on their land by the municipal United States government. Please observe how grammar works, a big, black and blue and red, and ferocious, monster. Now observe, freehold, allodial patent, forever and ever, title. The payoff and the actual meaning always comes at the end of the string of adjectives, and what you are offering is just another title, which means the victims are agreeing to place their land assets in a municipal government trust, subjecting themselves to property taxes owed to the government issuing the title, and are in fact depriving themselves of the result they are seeking, return of their own property assets to their own state trust, which is what they are owed. Failure number 6, failure to divulge the actual result of accepting this arbitration award, see above, is all damning enough, but there's another little codicil that you guys all fail to mention. Once the victim signs the dotted line, all bets are off. There's no guarantee that the government will ever pay them anything, even their own debt posing as credit. Why? Because the government already got what it wants and is free to do with the victims whatever it will. After all, they agreed by private contract to 1. Pay back any relief with interest, 2. Accept administration of their estate by the bar, 3. Gave their land back to the municipal United States government to hold in trust instead of placing their land in their own state trust, where it belongs. That's pretty much carte blanche to do whatever the government wants to do with these poor sods. By their own hand and admission. And the proof that the so-called government got what it wants is further underlined by the fact that once people sign on to this arbitration award, they can't back out again. Now, where does it say that as part of the paperwork? Where does it say that signing on means that you can't sign out if you change your mind? It doesn't, but as several people have found to their dismay, once they stumble into the trap, they have to go to a member of Congress to beg their way out again. Failure number 7, this whole system is going to implode and the assets that are owed to people are going to be returned, one way or another. Too many people know the score now. Too many people are still able to think their way out of the box. The only question is, will the transition back to a normal course of business be simple and pleasant? Or are we going to have to fight con men and grifters every step of the way home? You were in a position of public trust for many years, and you dishonored our trust. You took your money from our hand, and served a foreign government to our detriment. You are still serving that foreign government. And true to form and modus operandi, just like the Democrats trying to paint Donald Trump with Joe Biden's well-earned brush, you are trying to paint me as a foreign agent. Ha! Let's make this very, very clear. I am an American born and bred in Wisconsin. My home is here. My loyalty is here. My family and their future is here. It's not back in Germany, and that's for sure. To the extent that my European ancestors were aware of the evils of the Roman pontificate and passed that knowledge on to me, they are to be applauded by Americans, and so am I, for using that knowledge to defend and protect America and Americans from more damage caused by these violent criminals and con men. And if you think that you are getting away with any of this crapola on our watch, you need to think again. Links to this article and more can be found in the video description box.